Alright guys, welcome to day 26 of the old painting challenge. Hope everybody's having a good time. I had to take about 4 days of R&R here at the end of the challenge, which means, honestly, it means that Nagash is not going to be finished. Which just means that I will spill over into June to get him painted. I will not stop, I will not quit. But yeah, I had what I did over the weekend had to be done. I went over to my grandparents' house, helped them move a little bit. Took about 8 or 9 truckloads of stuff over to their new place, which they can't get into, so we had to stack it all in the garage. All sorts of fun stuff. But they're both 88 and they still believe they're in their 70s and can do all the stuff themselves. At least my grandmother does. And so we had to go over and help out, make sure stuff got done, make sure stuff got moved over, and had to hire some movers, honestly, to get the furniture out. They'll be there tomorrow to move everything over. My sister will be there to boss them around, which my sister will keep anybody in line, no matter who you think you are. She will put you in the place she thinks you belong to, so that is good. But that's what my Memorial Day weekend was from... There we go. I had my in-laws in on Thursday. Got to do a little bit of painting, but not much. And then Friday we drove down to Greenville and back. So there wasn't much painting there. Saturday was spent driving across the mountains to Knoxville so I could help put the move into the M into moving. And then all day Sunday was spent moving stuff as well. And then yesterday morning we moved the last couple truckloads over there. Oh, gotta be careful, Daniel. Make sure you don't mess up your thing. So that was all fun, and it was good to see my grandparents. I hadn't actually, thinking about it as I went over there, it had been 2 years since I had been to visit them, and you know, it's a 4-hour drive for me. But still, with them getting into their high 80s and pretty soon into their 90s, I need to get over there and visit them as much as possible, because there's no telling when... Let's move the camera forward so we can actually see what I'm doing. There's no telling when the next time I go visit it'll be for a sad visit instead of getting to see them the last time with a long good night. But that's morbid, morose, and you guys are here to see painting and not be sad. So I looked at the questions I missed. Looked at the question for today, and actually can remember the questions I missed, but can't remember the question for today, so I'll start with the questions I missed and then build my way up to it. Okay, I do remember today's question. But Saturday's question was, I'm sorry, Sunday's question, I think. Yeah, Sunday's question, whatever, one of the day's questions was, what was your favorite book to read when you were a child? And for me, it was Tolkien's The Hobbit. I really have read it nearly 50 times in my life. Probably more, because I read it for the movies coming out, each of the 3 pieces of the movie that came out. I read it again before I went to watch the movie, which heightened my depression as the movie turned out to be not near as good as it could have been. Thank you, Peter Jackson. Yeah. But that I've already bitched about that, so I'm gonna quit. But I read that and read it and reread it, and in fact, when I was in my teens, my older brother and I went to Philmont Scout Ranch out in Cimarron, New Mexico, and hiked about 100 miles over a 2-week period. And to help the time go by, we took turns telling the story of The Hobbit from memory. We had both read it so much. And in the end, I let him tell the rest of it, because I was in charge of telling the Riddles in the Dark chapter and completely forgot to talk about the ring and the discovery thereof, so I decided I would retire from that speaking position. Pretty important chapter. But there was that. Other question I missed, if I could vacation for a week anywhere in the world, where would I like to go? And that's a good one. I like that one. That's a good question. I would really like to go to England and visit You know, especially since I have a lot of guys who like to watch the show from England and from the other parts of the British Isles, Greater Britain. But I've got one side of my family has deep Scotch roots, so I'd like to go up and visit Scotland and the places where the Macmillans are from. I've already been to Germany, where my dad's side of the family hails from. The Sprinkle side used to be Sprenkel. But would love to go down and see London. Would like to go see GW. I'd like to see their Bugman's Brewery. Just to say, you know, hey, look, I've been over there. Probably have to make sure I brought big enough luggage to pack everything I bought home. Almost went once. One of my cousins was going to school there, and she's like, hey man, you should come over and hang out. You can sleep on the floor in my dorm room. And I was like, oh man, yeah, that'd be awesome. And plane tickets, they were pretty cheap at one point, and almost bought them, but then I had an expense come up, and then when I went back to buy them again, they jumped up double price. And I was like, hey, sorry, can't go. And she was like, oh, that's cool, whatever. But luckily it meant I had a passport and all this other stuff for later travel when it came about. But I think that would be fun. I would like to see all the old... Love to go see the HMS Victory. That would be fun. I read the Patrick O'Brien Master and Commander series a couple years ago, which is really good, especially if you like sailing and nautical terms and not knowing what the heck you're reading the first couple of books until you come to understand the terms he uses, because he uses the correct sailing terms from the early 1800s, late 1700s. And if you don't know what, you know, tightening up the stays or reefing the sheets, but no, shaking out another reef. And I probably used those wrong. But if you don't know what those mean, then you'll be lost for a little bit. You know, snapping a, what did he break? Broke a spar on the first chapter because he didn't like the way it looked. It was too small for his taste. Snapped it and then went in and got a new one and said, oh, this one broke. Need a new one. How about that bigger one? But that was one of the better roles that Russell Crowe played. I thought he did a very good Captain Aubrey. I would love to make that one of my cosplays at some point whenever I go back to Dragon Con to dress up like Jack Aubrey. I'd have to get a blonde wig because my hair is all turning skin color. Those of you older gentlemen know what I'm talking about. Getting all see-through. What I'm doing here is I'm prepping to paint these edges gold. I really debated between painting all the edging on the armor bone or gold, and I think I finally decided on going gold just because it'll make it look more artisanal and instead of organic, which I like the organic look that the guy did who painted the GW thing, but I want a little bit different look. So golden bones. Maybe he just gilded the lily. Wanted everything golden plated because, you know, he was a bit vain. He was Nagash, king of the undead. But today's big question is, what is the weirdest thing you have ever eaten, and where were you when you ate said thing? I've eaten fried chicken feet, which if you are Asian or hang out with first generation or even second generation Asian immigrants in the United States, you've had fried chicken feet, or at least seen them consumed. I routinely eat pig intestine soup whenever I go and visit the in-laws down in Atlanta, because we go and eat dim sum at places where English is spoken only at request, and mostly it's Mandarin. And traditional Chinese dishes are served up. I think you can even get shark fin soup in some of the places, which the naturalist in me is like, oh, the poor little sharkies. But yeah, the fried chicken feet, I ate them once. That was enough for me, because I mean, they honestly, it tasted good. You know, I liked the way it tasted. Was down in Atlanta at dim sum with a friend of mine, and she loved the fried chicken feet. She just absolutely loved them. But you know, and I ate them. They tasted good, but still, I mean, you were chewing apart the little feet bones of a chicken. And you know, there was nothing you could do mentally to separate yourself from the fact that that's what you were doing, is that you were chewing apart the little feet bones of a chicken to get what little meat there was. It's just basically fried taste, and just not my thing. Now, pig intestine soup I would eat all day, because it's just like extra chewy noodles. There's good flavor in them. Well, actually, there's no flavor in them. They taste just like whatever you cook them in. And I gotta concentrate. I got to concentrate. Hello. Sorry, airplane moment. But I've had blood tofu, which is when they slaughter an animal, they catch the blood in a pan of salt, and that congeals almost immediately in the salt, and the salt preserves it and keeps it from rotting. And then they let it dry, and they cut little squares into the salt. Boy, I have my whole arm on the gash there a little bit. Don't do that, Daniel. They cut little squares out of the salt, and the now bloodied salt, and cook them in whatever they feel like cooking. And it adds an interesting flavor to everything. And it's just like kind of extra chewy and iron tasting tofu. So it's not bad. I like it. Not my favorite. I would never order it, but my in-laws love it, and so they order it, and we eat it. Speaking of in-laws, I have to buy me a new bottle of whiskey today. Well, not today, but I might go today, because my father and mother-in-law came over, and it had taken me about 3 months, maybe 4 months, to drink half a bottle of whiskey, and that's actually drinking a lot for me. And Grandpa drank the rest of it in a day and a half. So I have to go buy me a new bottle. And honestly, had he not finished it, I'd probably still go buy me a new bottle. I think he was drinking straight out of the tap. So, but anyway, well, you can see what I'm going for. I'm going to paint this a dark brown, and then I'm going to go over it with Balthazar Goat, and then I'm going to go over it with the brighter gold that I have, the Vallejo model gold, to highlight it. And honestly, by going over it brown, if between now and when I have to stop painting and then pick it up again, if I decide that, you know, I think I will make the bone, then I can come back over it all with the white, you know, scale it up to a nice bone color. But yeah, so I've seen a couple of the video thumbnails for people. Again, I was over at my grandparents'. Their internet was already off. They'd already turned off their wireless service, and only in the hotel could I watch anything. And usually I was trying to get the boys to sleep in their bed. You know, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old in a hotel queen size bed is an exciting series of events. Like the first night, they couldn't go to sleep together, and so the wife and I split duty, and one of us slept in one bed with one boy, and the other one slept in the I slept with a little 2-year-old boy, and he spent the night digging his toenails into my ribs, which does not lead to much sleep. And the next night they fell asleep together in the same bed, which was nice until about 4 in the morning when the 2-year-old fell out, and which would have been fine because he could have, except he couldn't pull himself back up into the bed. And he came over and said, "Daddy, Daddy up there, Daddy up there." And so I had to get up put him back into his bed, where he fell asleep immediately. I mean, literally, like, I hadn't put the covers back on him and he was already asleep. And then I went back and laid down, and of course, being not 2 years old, it took me a lot longer to go back to sleep. But to them, the house that my grandparents live in was, it's my grandparents' house to them. Their great-grandparents. Which, how many people get to see their great-grandparents, especially great-grandparents that are still very lucid, still very well-thinking, still very with it. I can talk to them and sing to them and hold them. But the house that, for them, they've only been to the house once or twice, whereas for me, for 25 years, that house has been Christmas time and Thanksgiving and family reunions and all sorts of stuff. So it was kind of sad to see it for the last time. But my boys were excited that the next time we go visit will be at their new house. I want to see their new house, Daddy. But anyway, you can see that this is going to take a while, especially if I don't want to spill over onto the meticulously painted turquoise parts of Nagash. So, wow, 17-minute video. Man, time sure does fly when you're having fun. Alright, well, I've got to wrap up, start uploading this, and then go get my boys from their daycare. Only a few more days of daycare this week, next week I think, and then the week after. Actually, there's 1 week where they don't go to school at all and they stay home with Daddy, and then they go back the next week. Because it's just summer camps now. It's whenever they could find teachers to do stuff. And they're just having fun. But I've got the neighbor's kid to come over and watch them a little bit more this afternoon. So hopefully I can I got to go to the store and then come back from there. And then the neighbor's daughter will watch them. And they love her, so that'll be good for them. And good for Daddy, because then I can just let them play with her. Relax a little bit more, because weekend full of moving will sure wear you out. So this is the 3rd time I've said goodbye, and I really mean it this time. I'll go start uploading the video. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios.